Americans elected Republicans all across the country to get our country back on track. That's what this last election was about, and Republicans are keeping our promises. Today, more Americans say our country is on the right track than they've said for the last 20 years. And that's because President Trump's and Republicans' common sense revolution is working. By contrast, what we see with the Democrats, they have abandoned all common sense. And the American people are resounding them. Amazing numbers. According to a recent poll, CNN did a poll. They're no friends of Republicans. What did they say? They said only 29% of the American people view the Democrat Party favorably. Even worse, according to the recent NBC poll, only 27% of Americans had a positive view of the Democrats. The Democrat approval rating is at its all-time low in the history of polling in this country. Why is that? Well, let me tell you, it's because Democrats in this body in the Senate are taking positions and continuing to take positions that are truly radical. Democrats in this body support people who support terrorism. That's who they side with. They refuse to protect women in sports. 80% of Americans say we need to protect women and girls in sports against biologic men. Democrats refuse to stand with Israel. Democrats, through their votes, trying to support higher energy prices, not lower energy prices. It was inflation which cost them the election, the open borders and the high prices of the last administration. Democrats were refusing to protect taxpayers. In terms of specific wasteful Washington spending that we've been seeing, Democrats are refusing to allow us to remove some of this wasteful Washington spending. And they want Americans to pay higher taxes. $4 trillion in increased taxes is what they're hoping for by the end of this year. Now, the minority leader who just spoke, he appeared last week on a television show on ABC called The View. What did he do? He spent his time attacking not the abuses against America, but against hard-working and successful American families. People who just want to keep more of their hard-earned money. People don't want to see the government waste it, fritter away, as we've seen from these examples and lists of money being spent in ways that you just wouldn't even think would make sense to anyone. The minority leader had nothing good to say about the innovators or the job creators, the hardworking Americans who'd make this country great. Look, over the last 4 years, the 4 years of the last administration, wasteful spending caused the worst inflation in 40 years. Democrats raised our taxes, they took our money, and they spent it recklessly. And today, Democrats are pulling out all the stops to block our bold Republican agenda. This is an agenda that the American people support. So how do they do it? They don't have the votes in the House, they don't have the votes in the Senate, and they don't have the White House. So how can Democrats and their radical views be reflected in what's happening in this country? Well, you know, Mr. President, they are doing it through radical district court judges. That's what the American people are hearing about today in the news. Radical district court judges who oppose President Trump, oppose his agenda. So how many district court judges are there in the country? Well, the number is 677. That's how many there are in the United States. And last week, one of the 677, just one of them at the district court level, ordered a nationwide ban to stop deportation of illegal immigrant gang members. This is wrong. One district court judge in one district court out of 677 of these district judges saying stop for the entire country. Well, these gang members, these illegal immigrants, they are part of a criminal group. And it's a criminal group designated by President Trump as terrorists. They're murderers, they're rapists, they're drug dealers. They threaten the safety and security of every American community. Last month alone, there were 15 nationwide injunctions issued against the Trump administration. By who? By activist district judges. From Washington, D.C. to Seattle, these activist district judges think they know better than the American people. Their radical order blocks signature pillars of our Republican agenda. the agenda that the American people voted for in November. These radical activist judges are protecting criminals, they're protecting terrorists, and they are after people that we know we need out of the country. They want to keep them here. They're against accountability, clearly an effort by the Democrats and their activist judges to try to undo the will of the voters. Let me be very clear. When partisan, unelected district court judges try to micromanage the President of the United States, that's not judicial review. It isn't checks and balances. It is purely partisan politics, and it's wrong. Radical district judges are not going to succeed in blocking Republicans from getting this nation back on track. I applaud President Trump. He's fighting to uphold the rule of law. He's appealing these bad rulings. He's representing the values of the American people. So let me go back to where I began. Last week, NBC reported Democrats are at the lowest level of support in the history of polling. At the same time, more Americans say that our country is on the right track than they have in the last 20 years. The Republican agenda for America continues to be popular. Americans want to escape the last 4 years of high prices and open borders. Republicans' shared agenda will deliver safer communities, secure borders, affordable prices, and peace through strength. Republicans are committed, Mr. President, to getting America back on track.